The British dairy aisle is no longer a sanctuary of wholesome nutrition. It has become a minefield of chemical concealment. The comforting images of green pastures and red tractors are now simply a facade for an industry that has fundamentally broken its bond of trust with the consumer. These are not accidents. Your long-term health is being bartered for their quarterly profit margins. Here at Brit Food Watch, we have uncovered the specific UK brands hiding the darkest secrets. We are not just looking at dirty factory floors. We have tracked the chemical footprints of synthetic feed additives, the forever chemicals leaching from premium packaging, and the inflammatory oils masquerading as health food. From the budget bottles quietly testing experimental chemicals on the British public, to the filtered premium pints that have been stripped of their nutritional soul, we are exposing it all. And it leads to the #1 worst offender. A brand so universally trusted, so iconic, that it is likely sitting in your fridge door right now, serving a daily dose of hidden contaminants to your family with every single pour. This is the list they did not want you to see. The marketing promises a post-milk generation. The biochemistry reveals a metabolic disaster of inflammatory oil and sugar. For years, you have been sold a story that this is the clean, ethical savior of your morning coffee. But the lab results tell a different story. The results are not natural. They are a chemically engineered suspension of industrial seed oils and sugar. First, let us talk about the myth of a creamy texture. That creaminess does not come from oats. It comes from rapeseed oil. You are not drinking a wholesome grain extract. You are drinking an emulsion of water and the same inflammatory oil used to fry chips, chemically bound together with gellan gum and phosphates. You are paying a premium price for cheap, processed lipids that nutritional science is increasingly flagging as a driver of chronic inflammation. But the deception goes deeper, right down to the molecular level. To turn hard oats into a liquid, Oatly uses a heavy industrial procedure called enzymatic hydrolysis. This process breaks down the complex oat starches and converts them into maltose. Maltose is a sugar with a glycemic index rating that rivals, and in some cases exceeds, table sugar. When you pour this into your porridge or latte, you are not fueling your body with complex carbohydrates. You are effectively slamming a can of fizzy cola before 9 in the morning. You are spiking your insulin, wrecking your metabolic stability, and inviting gut issues like bloating, a side effect flagged by medical sources including York Test and The Independent. It is a glucose spike disguised as a health drink. And if you are buying the standard non-organic version, you are playing Russian roulette with glyphosate. Oats are frequently desiccated, sprayed to dry them out for harvest using this controversial weed killer. Independent tests often detect glyphosate residues in non-organic oat products. That means the herbicide used in the field ends up in the slurry and finally in your gut. They market it as milk made for humans. The data suggests it is inflammation made for profit. Oat drinks are lower in protein than cow's milk, loaded with processed additives, and they carry a heavy metal risk profile that organic dairy simply does not have. Tesco, billed as a timeless British staple for decades, quietly reformulated in late 2024 to serve as a delivery system for synthetic methane suppressants. While the packaging remained identical, the biological input underwent a radical and controversial shift that turned consumers into unwitting test subjects. Tesco's supply chain began trialling Bovaer, a synthetic feed additive containing 3-nitrooxypropanol, across dozens of UK farms. This compound is designed to suppress methane in the cow's gut, a move applauded by corporate sustainability reports, but viewed with deep suspicion by toxicologists and consumers alike. You are no longer drinking the natural output of a grazing animal. You are consuming milk from a herd actively metabolizing a synthetic inhibitor. While the Food Standards Agency has technically approved it, the long-term data on cumulative consumption of milk from herds treated with this specific chemical agent is scarce. Consumers are essentially the test subjects in a massive, unconsented trial for climate-friendly industrial farming. But the synthetic additives are only the chemical half of the threat. The physical environment producing this milk has been exposed as a zero-grazing nightmare. Tesco heavily markets its British purity, yet undercover probes into their supply base have revealed cows that never see a blade of grass. These animals are confined to concrete industrial sheds for their entire productive lives. This high-density confinement is a breeding ground for mastitis, painful chronic udder infections. To keep the milk flowing, the herds are often pumped full of antibiotics. When you buy this budget bottle, you are buying into a system where health is maintained by pharmaceutical intervention, not natural immunity. The data confirms the cruelty. In 2025, Ethical Consumer rated the suppliers behind this bottle under 20 out of 100 for animal welfare. The report cited repeated pregnancy cycles that push the animals to biological collapse, treating living creatures like distinct production units rather than livestock. This is not farming, it is biological mining. Tesco positions this as the reliable, affordable choice for your tea and cereal. But when the price is kept low by synthetic methane inhibitors and zero grazing confinement, the cost is passed on to your health. This is not milk. It is a chemical-laced industrial byproduct. Number 3. Arla Cravendale. If the filtration process is designed for purity, why does it fail to remove the metabolic traces of a controversial feed additive? The label promises a pristine product, but the reality is a masterclass in industrial gaslighting. Cravendale is the premium darling of the dairy aisle, commanding a higher price for its filtered promise. In late 2024, the supply chain behind this bottle began trialling Bovaer, that controversial synthetic methane suppressant we exposed earlier. This shatters the entire premise of the brand. You are paying extra for purity, yet the milk is harvested from animals metabolizing a laboratory-engineered chemical designed to alter their digestive chemistry. The filtration process might catch physical bacteria, but it does nothing to remove the metabolic traces of a feed additive. The deception continues with the processing itself. What they call ultrafiltration is often a convenient disguise for standardization. By stripping the milk of its natural biological variation, they can mask the drop in raw quality. You are not tasting the creaminess of high-welfare dairy. You are tasting a mechanized product diluted and reconstructed to fit a flavor profile. And the corporate integrity? It is non-existent. Arla, the giant behind Cravendale, was forced by court rulings to scrap its climate-neutral claims. The courts deemed them fraudulent. They were charging you a premium to save the planet, while the actual environmental data tells a horrific story. In 2025, ethical audits gave their supply chain a pollution score of just 3 out of 100. Far from the pristine white image they sell, the production of this milk is leaving a heavy, toxic footprint on the British countryside. The final betrayal comes from the farm floor. Undercover footage from 2025 at an Arla Yorkshire facility, which also supplies giants like Starbucks, exposed barbaric practices. Investigators filmed tail docking performed without pain relief. This is not just cruel, it is dangerous. Open wounds in a shed environment spike the risk of infection, which inevitably threatens the bacterial load of the milk before it even reaches those famous filters. They filter the milk to extend the shelf life. They do not filter it to protect you. Number 4. Muller. 0 out of 100. That is the terrifying score this family favourite received for workers' rights, creating a direct vector for hygiene negligence. While the brand positions itself as wholesome, the operational reality is a factory nightmare of diluted feed and exploited labour. Investigations conducted throughout 2023 and 2024 have shattered the brand's reputation, exposing a reliance on battery cow units. These are not farms, they are high-density production facilities, where livestock are prioritised for volume over sanitation. To maximize profit, feed is often diluted with cheap bulk fillers. This is not just a nutritional theft, it is a biological hazard. This compromised silage creates the perfect breeding ground for bacteria, significantly spiking the risk of E. coli entering the milk supply. When you cheapen the input, you contaminate the output. The danger was compounded in 2025. A massive strike over rota changes threw the Muller supply chain into absolute chaos. During this period of industrial paralysis, unmonitored batches of milk were pushed through the system. When oversight vanishes, safety protocols are the first thing to collapse. Consumers were left purchasing a product that had effectively bypassed the rigorous safety checks required to catch bacterial contamination. But the rot goes deeper than just the milk itself. It is systemic. In the 2025 Farm Animal Welfare Benchmark, Muller sat at the absolute bottom. The report highlighted the barbaric practice of ignoring disbudding pain, removing the horns of calves without anesthesia. This cruelty correlates directly with hygiene negligence. A stressed, pain-riddled animal has a collapsed immune system, shedding more pathogens into the milk. Furthermore, the brand scored a terrifying 0 out of 100 for workers' rights. Why does this matter to you? Because an exploited workforce is a negligent workforce. When staff are overworked and underpaid, the meticulous cleaning required to stop bacterial outbreaks simply does not happen. You are not buying premium British dairy. You are buying the liquid fallout of exploitation. Iceland, everyday milk. If a pharmaceutical giant tested experimental compounds on you without consent, it would be a criminal offence. When a supermarket does it, they call it value. Sitting in the budget freezer aisle, Iceland's everyday milk offers an unbeatable price. But investigations in late 2025 revealed that this discount comes with a hidden biological cost. The product ignited a firestorm on social media when diligent consumer watchdogs traced farm codes on the bottles back to specific trial herds. Those herds were being used to test varying unmonitored concentrations of bovaer, a synthetic methane inhibitor. Unlike the standardized doses found in other supply chains, these were experimental blends. Consumers buying this milk were unwittingly participating in a massive unconsented feed trial. The danger is not theoretical. Similar trials in Norway were suspended because the cattle showed signs of severe metabolic distress. If the animal producing the milk is metabolically unstable, the biological safety of the fluid it produces is fundamentally compromised. You are not buying milk. You are buying the runoff of a corporate experiment. The issue extends beyond chemicals to physical brutality. Ethical probes in 2025 exposed that the specific supply chain for Iceland's private label has been ignoring bans on tail docking. Tail docking involves slicing through sensitive bone and nerve tissue to remove the animal's tail, often without anesthetic. It is a barbaric practice used in dirty, high-density sheds to stop tails from dragging in manure. Here is the gross factor they hide. The open wounds from docking are a primary entry point for infection. To fight the inevitable rot, the herds are dosed with heavy pharmaceuticals. The connection is direct. Brutality breeds infection. Infection requires drugs, and drugs risk residue. Transparency on this is non-existent. The Farm Animal Welfare Benchmark awarded Iceland's supply chain a humiliating score of 15 out of 100 for opacity. They know exactly what is happening in those sheds, and they are banking on the fact that you do not look past the price tag. They market it as a convenient long-life staple for the budget-conscious family. In reality, it is a contaminated compromise. You are saving pennies, but you are drinking a liquid produced by distressed, mutilated animals serving as biological test subjects. Number 6. Lidl Milbona milk. A heavy boot slamming into the side of a distressed animal. An infected udder oozing untreated fluids, deliberately ignored by an overworked labourer. That is the price of your 90p pint. Lidl's Milbona line is the cornerstone of their budget dairy offering, sourced exclusively from the dairy giant Muller. But while the price is low, the moral and sanitary cost is astronomical. This brand became the center of a nausea-inducing scandal in 2023 when hidden camera footage from a supplier farm exposed the true nature of value dairy. The footage did not just show cruelty, it showed a complete collapse of hygiene protocols. Workers were filmed kicking cows and ignoring visible infections. When you abuse an animal and force it to live in filth, you create a vector for disease. The consequences were immediate and biological. Following the exposés, traces of E. coli were detected in milk batches linked to these conditions. While the industry managed to avoid a full-scale national recall, the warning signs are still flashing red. The Food Standards Agency, FSA, monitoring in 2024, flagged elevated bacterial counts in subsequent tests. This is the direct result of unsanitary extraction. You are drinking milk from a system where speed is valued over sterility. But the nightmare is not just about bacteria, it is about dilution. To keep the price artificially low, the feed regimens for these herds include undisclosed additives designed solely for yield inflation. They are chemically pushing the cows to produce liquid volume beyond their natural limit. This effectively waters down the natural milk protein content. You are buying a product that has been biologically diluted before it even leaves the udder. And the environmental fallout is just as toxic. A 2025 ethical audit awarded Lidl's suppliers a dismal 15 out of 100 for pollution control. The report cited manure runoff from these overstocked mega farms contaminating local waterways. If the farm is poisoning the river next to it, do you really trust the milk coming out of it? It is not 100% milk. It is factory-farmed sludge, masquerading as a bargain. Is it really a bargain if it contains more bacteria than protein? The packaging sells a taste the difference dream of pristine pastures. The supply chain delivers a reality of cortisol-spiked, zero-grazing confinement. You buy Sainsbury's because you trust the orange label. You trust the promise of higher standards. The glossy packaging sells you a dream of the British countryside, but the supply chain delivers a nightmare of industrial chemistry and biological stress. The scam begins with the patriotism paradox. The bottle screams farm fresh British, but investigations spanning from 2023 to 2025 confirm that the milk inside largely originates from Muller's zero-grazing mega farms. We are talking about cows that are confined indoors year-round, never stepping on a pasture, never feeling the sun. They are fed a grain-heavy diet, diluted with cheap fillers to artificially boost liquid volume. You are paying for nutrient-dense milk, but you are receiving a diluted, grain-fed secretion. But the most terrifying ingredient is one they do not list on the label: cortisol. In 2024, the business benchmark for farm animal welfare slammed the primary supplier with a failing grade for ignoring lameness and the trauma of calf separation. When a cow lives in a state of chronic pain and separation anxiety, its body is flooded with cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Biology dictates that this hormone transfers into the milk. You are not just drinking calcium, you are chemically ingesting the animal's fear and stress. And if that was not enough, the supply chain chaos means you are facing a double threat. Our analysis shows an overlap with Arla for certain batches, injecting the risk of that controversial bovine synthetic additive we warned you about earlier. It is a cocktail of synthetic methane inhibitors and biological stress hormones sold to you as a premium product. The ethical scores confirm the fraud. Ethical Consumer rated this product below 30 out of 100, citing deceptive environmental claims. They are greenwashing the label while their industrial sheds pump out pollution and misery. Sainsbury's charges you double the price of the budget brands for the privilege of buying this bottle. They bank on your assumption that expensive means safe. They are wrong. We have dragged you through the chemical mud of the British dairy industry. We have shown you the feed additives, the zero grazing prisons, and the dilution scams. But here at Brit Food Watch, We do not just expose the poison, we give you the antidote. You do not have to drink the lies. There are producers in this country who have refused to bow to the industrial pressure. These are the brands where milk still means milk. No experiments, no cruelty, no chemicals. These are the two bottles you should ever reach for. Number 1. Graham's. While the supermarket giants are racing to the bottom, this Scottish family is holding the line. If you want to understand why modern supermarket milk is a fraud, you have to look at what Graham's is doing right. Specifically, their gold top range. While Muller and Arla are chemically engineering their herds to produce high volumes of watery white fluid, Graham sources this milk from Jersey herds. Why does that matter? Jersey cows naturally produce milk that is significantly higher in butter fat and protein. It is not chemically thickened, it is biologically dense. But the real safe factor here is what they do not do. Unlike the standardized sludge, Graham's offers unhomogenized options. You can actually see the cream rising to the top of the bottle. This is the visual proof of purity. It proves the milk has not been blasted through high-pressure industrial pipes to break down its molecular structure. It is milk in its raw, structural form. Furthermore, being an independent family-run business creates a shorter chain of command. They are not beholden to the same nameless, faceless shareholder, demands that drive the cost-cutting at all costs. Mentality of the mega dairies. When you buy from a family that puts their own name on the bottle, the accountability is personal, not corporate. It is rich, it is nutritionally dense, and it is honest. Yeo Valley is the redemption. This is one of the brands on British shelves that delivers unadulterated bliss. In a market defining itself by toxicity, this brand scored a flawless 100 out of 100 from Ethical Consumer. That score is not an accident, it is a guarantee. While regulatory outlaws are trialling synthetic methane inhibitors, 2025 audits confirmed that Yeo Valley's supply chain uses zero chemical feeds. Because it is 100% organic, the use of Bovaer, glyphosate desiccated grains, and routine antibiotics is strictly prohibited. You are not just avoiding toxins, you are ingesting quality. The grass-grazed status of their Devon herds means the milk is naturally higher in omega-3 fatty acids, a crucial anti-inflammatory nutrient that is virtually non-existent in the grain-fed factory milk we warned you about. But the biggest betrayal buster is the treatment of life. We warned you about the cortisol spikes in factory herds caused by separating calves from their mothers. Yeo Valley operates with a philosophy where calves often stay with their mums. This reduces stress, eliminates the cortisol flood, and ensures the milk is harvested from a happy, biologically stable animal. It has had no recalls from the Food Standards Agency. It is free of synthetic tampering, and it is free of guilt. This is the brand the big industrial giants fear, because it proves that you can produce dairy without betraying the consumer. It costs a little more, but ask yourself, what is the price of your health? Now you know the reality. The dairy aisle is not a neutral space, it is a battlefield. Every time you blindly grab that plastic bottle, you are not just buying milk. You are funding the chemical trials, the animal cruelty, and the systematic deception of the British public. But now, the power is in your hands. I want to know your verdict in the comments below. Did you know you were drinking experimental methane inhibitors? Are you shocked that your so-called healthy oat alternative is essentially inflammatory oil? And after seeing the data, will you ever trust a Taste the Difference label again? Let us know. We read every single comment. Do not let them hide the truth. Subscribe to Brit Food Watch for the truth.